entertain an application for approval of the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Any abstention? So moved. Finance and capital.
The Controller's Report of Expenditures for January 2012. 2 travel requests in the amount of $4,088 were submitted. Expenditures over $100,000 are being introduced by
Dr. Gardner. Dr. Gardner, can you read the...
Requisition number 58131, 58133 in the amount of $184,600 as requested by CIO Lawless for the continuation and completion of the campus, quote, network wiring upgrade, end quote, project. This expenditure is funded by a student fee. All those in favor?
Do I have a motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Any against? Any abstention? So moved.
Requisition number 56833 in the amount of $40,000 as requested by General Counsel Donna Hagan for Fisher Development Strategies. Services provided consist of undertaking lobbying and advocacy efforts with the New York State Governor and New York State Legislature on behalf of the college.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any against?
Opposed. Not because there's of lack of value to the college, I'm philosophically opposed to outside contracts.
So you vote against you? My understanding is
Not because it doesn't have real value to the college. It does.
Requisition number 56082 in the amount of $95,500 as requested by College Controller, VP of Finance, for the annual external audit of college financial statements, Nassau County contract.
Do I have a motion?
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Any abstention? So moved.
Requisition number 58134 in the amount of $189,998.34 as requested by CIO for Phase 2 of a 3-phase project for a new VoIP, voice over IP phone system. It provides 800 phones for the East Campus as well as 104 analog stations needed for emergency phones. Funding source, Trigen Grant.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Any abstention? So moved.
Requisition number 58144 in the amount of $330,385.10 as requested by CIO for the annual membership in the CICUS Center, which provides Nassau Community College with software and operational services crucial to supporting and maintaining the Banner student system. Services include Banner software licensing, software maintenance, remote database administration, and access to all SUNY modifications to Banner.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
All in favor? Do I have a second?
Second.
Resolved that aforementioned expenditures are approved and... Oh, I'm sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any against?
Yes, against.
Any abstention? So moved.
Resolved that the aforementioned expenditures be approved and authorized. Seconded by Trustee
Bartosh.
LIPA rebate/installation of energy management system, introduced by me. Whereas Nassau County Community College received a LIPA rebate for the installation of the energy management system in the amount of $155,904. And whereas the State University of New York will match private LIPA funds with matching capital funds. Therefore, be it resolved that Nassau Community College accepts funds in the amount of County Legislator Savon Abrams seeks to provide Nassau County residents with opportunities to assist them in achieving employment. He believes that it is important to present current students, recent graduates, and all Nassau County residents with a comprehensive event that links job seekers with potential employers. This Jobs Career Fair is scheduled to take place in the multipurpose room of the Campus Center building, June 21st, 2012, from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. It will host approximately 40 companies and employers representing many sectors of the economy. Legislator Abrams has provided the Nassau Community College Facilities Manager's Office with the relevant documents with respect to insurance and liability and other obligations on his part. Resolved, that the rental fee be waived for the use of the Nassau Community College multipurpose room in the College Center building for the purposes of a Jobs Career Fair sponsored by County Legislator Kavan Abrams on June 21st, 2012, from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And be it further resolved that all associated personnel and maintenance costs will be borne by the user.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Any abstention? So moved.
I make a motion under Article 4, Section 3F of the Board's Rules of Procedures to allow for the consideration of an item that does not appear on the calendar.
Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
All in favor of the motion say aye. All opposed?
Aye.
Any opposed? The majority of the board having voted to consider the item is now before us. Sorry, I won't have you yet. It is number 5? Oh, I'm sorry, I thought it was a separate one. When it said read the item, I didn't know what to do. All right, facilities introduced by me. The Empire State Games for the physically challenged has requested a waiver of the rental fees for the use of Nassau Community College Physical Education Complex for the 2012 Empire State Games for the physically challenged from Thursday, May 31st through Saturday, June 2nd, 2012. Resolved that the rental fee be waived for the use of Nassau Community College Physical Education Complex for the 2012 Empire State Games for the physically challenged, scheduled from Thursday, May 31st through Saturday, June 2nd, 2012. And be it further resolved that all associated personnel and maintenance costs will be borne by the user.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Any abstention? So moved.
And if I could move up the script, if anybody has not had an opportunity to see that, you will be challenged to see a more moving event than the physically challenged Empire State Games.
Actually, I'm also going to interject. I've actually been the medical director for the Empire State Games for the last 2 years. It has been one of the most moving and memorable experiences. In conjunction with the Nassau University Medical Center and the New York State Department, Nassau County Department of Health, we put on a joint venture, and Nassau Community College has been the host for the last number of years. And it is a wonderful, wonderful experience to see these kids from all over the state come down and participate and really be the athletes for the day. So in your time, if you have any time to come over to see them, it is a wonderful, wonderful experience. That's all.
Thank you, Dr. Butler.
Promotion and tenure introduced by me. The collective bargaining agreement with the Nassau Community College full-time, covering all full-time college faculty, provides for the granting of tenure after a probationary period and sets forth the criteria and procedures for faculty promotions upon the favorable recommendation of the College-wide Promotion and Tenure Committee. The College-wide Promotion and Tenure Committee has reviewed all the applicants for promotion and/or tenure and has sent its recommendations to the President. The President is now recommending that the Board of Trustees grant promotion and tenure to the faculty members in this resolution. In order to be aware of time constraints and to allow all speakers, we will be reading the resolve but not the individual names. Resolved that pursuant to the terms of the collective bargaining agreement with the Nassau Community College Federation of Teachers and upon the recommendation of the College-wide Promotion and Tenure Committee and the college administration, the faculty members named herein and hereby granted promotion and/or tenure at Nassau Community College effective September 1st, 2012. We have a second.
We can clap again. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Any against? Any abstention? So moved.
Public comment policy introduced by, me. Whereas on several recent occasions, one or more members of this board have, in substance, admonished the public prior to the public comments business portion of this board's meeting that their addresses to this board will not be allowed and will be terminated where such comments include language that is perceived as discourteous, disparaging, and/or rude. And whereas on several recent occasions, speeches from the public to the board during the public comment were curtailed and terminated where the citizens lawfully criticize actions or non-actions of the college administration and/or this board. And whereas such actions by such board members might be construed as policy determinations by this board. And whereas the aforementioned actions by such board members can be viewed as a chilling and as a violation of the constitutional rights to free speech and to petition. Now therefore be it resolved that this board recognizes that they are public officers and that speakers during the public comment portion of its meetings shall enjoy the full measure of the constitutional rights to free speech and to petition, and that there shall be no interference with their exercise of such rights.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any against?
Nay.
Any abstention? So moved.
All NCC moratorium policy introduced by me.
Mr. Donnelly, it's my understanding that all NCC has been restored, and as such, I am asking for a motion to table.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Can I be heard on that?
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to table. Any against?
Against.
Any abstention? Motion table. President's report.
Thank you, Mr. Prime, Chairman Prime. First, I want to offer my congratulations to all of the faculty in the promotion and tenure listing here this evening, and I want to assure you that all the letters going out as such for this action will be in the mail tomorrow morning to you, and congratulations again, and I hope everyone will enjoy their spring break coming up and be safe with that. To start with my report, I want to just give a little update on the state budget. Although the state budget process is not yet complete, we are within hours or at the most days of its completion. And although it is not everything we have asked for, you may have seen in the newspaper, we have a lot to feel good about. It appears that there will be $150 more per FTE than was proposed in the governor's budget. This translates into about $2.9 million more for Nassau Community College. I know that a lot of folks from the college community spent a whole lot of time advocating for such and making this possible. Members of the faculty, our students, and members of the administration were all part of this effort. I met with the chairs of the Higher Education Committee of the Senate and the Assembly even before the governor's proposed budget was in place. I know that members of the trustees, especially Mary Adams and Mr. John Durso, who is not here this evening, made a case for community colleges wherever and whenever they could. For their part, Chuck Catolo and Mr. Dan Fisher were in pretty much constant contact with our state legislators. I also want to particularly thank the leadership of the NCCFT and the Academic Senate for their individual efforts and for the efforts in urging members of the college community to reach out to our legislators. Also, as part of the budget, I am pleased to report that the proposed cut of $650,000 in aid to the daycare facilities at community colleges was rejected. I've got to tell you that it is particularly gratifying when I was testifying before the Republican members of the Assembly at a hearing just a few weeks ago to hear Assemblyman Saladino say that another assemblyman Coran had brought up the issue to them in the discussions in Albany. And why is it gratifying? Because 2 of our students brought up this issue in their lobbying with Assemblyman Coran. So he heard what they had to say, and in turn, he put it on the radar screen of his colleagues. In this regard, I'd also like to thank Chuck Rotolo for his work with the students in SGA for preparing them for the meetings with our state representatives in their local offices and arranging for those visits. Legislators think and particularly retain in terms of images and of stories, and we know that the stories our students told them were persuasive and compelling. Along the Child Care Center, I want to read a nice thank you card that came in, and it was addressed to me, but it really speaks to everyone at Nassau Community College, faculty, administrators, and this board. And to read this card, it says, Dr. Astrab, I am writing to you because of how impressed I am with NCC's Children's Greenhouse, the professionalism, the warmth of the entire staff towards parents, children, and each other is really inspirational. Their attitude is a perfect template for my future career as a funeral director. Recently, during my class practicum, I have caught myself several times thinking, how would the staff at the greenhouse react to this family? They have loved my son from the time he was a crawler to a potty trainer. And I am just so grateful to you and your administration and the faculty for continuing the greenhouse's wonderful services. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Sherry Anthony. I think there are many faculty members and maybe administrators here who have a similar story of their children spending time in our greenhouse. And so there's the gratification for what was happened and that not being cut from the governor's budget. I am also pleased to report that NCC did very well in the capital projects budget. The governor's proposed budget for capital projects called for spending of about $87 million for these projects in the up and coming year for all community colleges. Of that $87 million, Nassau Community College is slated to receive $19.8 million, or 23% of the capital budget. This is the number in the legislation that will soon be voted on, and I want to particularly thank Joe Muscarella, Carol Friedman for all of their hard work in pushing these projects, Dan Fisher for his meeting personally with Senator Skelos and other legislators to make sure that amidst all of the other budget items, people would not forget our capital request. I do have copies on hand if somebody wanted to see the capital projects. Finally, with respect to the budget, sometimes among the best news, it's the news that did not happen. Currently, NCC receives about $11 million per year from counties in recognition of their students who attend NCC. It's called chargeback. Many community colleges receive significant chargeback, although only a few receive as much or the amount compatible to Nassau Community College. Other community colleges receive very little, even though their counties are located in areas where they pay chargeback to other community colleges in nearby counties. It was this situation that resulted in a proposal that surfaced only a couple of weeks ago that would have effectively killed chargebacks. SUNY asked us for our comments on the proposal. Again, I have copies of our comments for anyone who is interested. We got them to SUNY right away, as well as following up with personal visits to legislators. In fact, I had talked already, even before the chargeback issue, with the chairs of the higher education committees for the Senate and the Assembly last year in the fall. We followed up with additional communications with legislators, including a meeting with Assemblyman McKevitt, at which Rose and student trustee Luke Martinez, our student representative from the Academic Senate, were present. It now appears that the bills calling for any action on chargeback is nothing more than SUNY will look at just making recommendations to the legislature by September 1. So it appears that the bill simply calls for a study by SUNY to look at the chargeback issue. We will be working from now until that time to make sure legislative committees hear our side of what they're looking at as it relates to the chargeback law. Because any changes would be catastrophic to Nassau Community College. Any changes could potentially dwarf any improvements that we might see in this year's governor's budget. Another topic, proposed modification of the bus system routes. On February 17th, the NICE Viola Transportation System announced proposed modifications to the bus routes, some of which would affect college students, Nassau Community College students, faculty, and staff. These proposed modifications are supposed to take effect in April. On February 17th, I sent a letter to Mr. Michael Setzer, making clear that some of these modifications would have a detrimental effect on our campus community, particularly those students who have planned their courses and schedules in January and who have already reasonably taken into account the available bus routes and schedules in so doing. I have copies of the letter that went to Mr. Setzer. At the time the letter was sent out, we also shared it with Professor Sapie. She spoke before this board earlier expressing her concerns about changes to the bus system. A few days later, the specific modifications were published in Newsday with an announcement that the NICE Viola bus system would be conducting informal meetings very shortly. Prior to one of those meetings, I was able to schedule, with the help of Assemblyman McDonough, a meeting with the CEO of Viola, Michael Setzer, when I again made clear our concerns about the impact of these changes in bus routes. We also had time to conduct a quick online survey of the members of the campus community, and we shared the results of that survey with Mr. Setzer. I would also like to recognize the work of members of the faculty who attended these informal sessions. I think that the united voice of the college community was important to getting our point across. In my meeting with Mr. Setzer, we agreed to look for ways to work with the NICE and Viola bus system together with the college to see what arrangements we could make for our mutual benefit. I emphasize that such discussions should include all members of the college community, including a session with student government. I know that in his meeting with our students, Assemblyman McDonough offered to facilitate such a meeting to take place. Now, an update on the Life Sciences building. Things are back on course for its timely opening. There had been an issue about payments from the county. Thanks to the work of a lot of people, including Chief Deputy County Executive Rob Walker, Joe Muscarella, Carol Friedman, Chuck Catolo, and the chair of the nursing department, Chairman Tom Rich. We were able to convey all of our concerns about how critical it was for timely payments to be made in order to assure the building would be open in time for our students in the fall and in time for the accreditation visit for nursing scheduled for October. We made it clear in our letter to Mr. Rob Walker, with a copy going to NIFA. Again, I want to thank the Chief County Executive for his expedition in response to this letter and getting payments made. Finally, I just want to make another couple of comments. One, in recognition of the Nassau Community College speech and debate team. They were invited to compete in the 2012 International Forensics Association World Championship Tournament. This year's competition was held in Rome from March 10th to March 17th. At this year's competition, Nassau Community College was represented by a number of our students. Opposed to reading all the names, they all deserve our congratulations, and we should take great pride in their accomplishments. Overall, as a group, we had NCC was finishing runner-up for the prestigious Global Citizenship Award. That was by the U.S. Assembly in Rome, which was given to the best school exemplifying the highest standards in American education, communication, and diversity. Finally, because of the team's success, NCC was granted a lifetime membership to the IFA. So I'd like to offer our congratulations to the team. I would say that in the future I will bring a resolution recognizing Professor Trent Webb, his efforts for the many, many years of success for this debate team, and I'll be bringing that to the board on an evening when I don't know if Trent is here, but we'll make sure we do that and recognize him for his efforts. Finally, I'm also pleased to tell you the recent success of our wrestling team. On February 24th and 25th, the NJCAA National Wrestling Championships were held in Rochester, Minnesota. They didn't get to go to Rome, but where NCC won the Division III championship. Division III consists of junior colleges, community colleges that do not provide wrestling scholarships as a part of their recruitment process. NCC has won the Division III National Championship 5 times in the last 10 years. Of course, as much as the accomplishments of our students take center stage, it's with pride that we point out the faculty members, Professor Trent Webb, Professor Paul Smith, the coach of the wrestling team, and assistant wrestling coach Vogar, and I'll butcher his last name and I apologize, but Vogar was named Coach of the Year for Division III as assistant coach. Congratulating all of these students, faculty, and I want to thank everyone for their sustained support for making NCC truly a place where it is, where success starts and continues. Thank you.
Thank you. Now open it up to public comment. I would remind all the speakers that you have 3 minutes, and the first speaker is, and I'm going to presume I'm going to get it right for the first time, Michael Stoyer.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Martin. Good evening. Once again, I appreciate the opportunity to speak before you. Our Academic Senate Chair, Kimberly Reiser, could not be here this evening because she has at a meeting of the Faculty Council at community colleges in Syracuse. Over 9 months have passed since the Academic Senate voted to support the academic department chairs in their expression of no confidence in President Nastrab's ability to continue to lead our college. More than 6 months have passed since the entire full-time faculty voted to support the Senate in its vote of no confidence, and also voted to urge you, the College Board of Trustees, to take all necessary actions to restore confidence in the presidency. I am saddened to report that the faculty's confidence in President Nastrab has only diminished in this interim period. It is my belief that you have not acted responsibly in determining the cause of these problems. Thus, you have been negligent in designing a solution. You allow faculty and other speakers to present brief sound bites at the end of each board meeting, but there is no response. The Academic Senate Executive Committee has met twice with you, but these meetings were held at our request, not yours. Time was severely limited. Dr. Nastrab was present, which had a dampening effect on candid conversation. And indeed, at our second meeting with you, the President even set the agenda for much of our meeting. It appears that our Board of Trustees is either unwilling or incapable of membership. And
I know I mispronounced it, I apologize.
No, you did all right. You did okay. Hi, my name is Natalia De Cuba. I am one of the lecturers at Link. And first of all, on behalf of all my colleagues, we'd like to express our congratulations To everyone who's received tenure and promotion today, we definitely salute you. We have also been here 5 years teaching, doing service to the college. Unfortunately, we have not had even a pay raise, not to mention a path towards tenure or steps towards promotion. However, my son will graduate from the greenhouse at 5 this year after being there since he was 7 months old, so I am eternally, eternally grateful for that. As you're probably aware, last ill-fated meeting, the Link faculty was all here present to present. We were not all able to be here today because about half the faculty is preparing for our National Professional Conference this weekend. Me too, when I get home. So we will be here for the next board meeting to present all the fantastic and wonderful things that we do to support the college's mission, to support the SUNY mission of globalization and expansion, to tell you why international programs that are making partnerships with Nassau are using our program as a model. They're using that as a basis to decide to be our partners, as are other SUNY schools. We are well qualified. We are beyond well qualified. We're doing the service to the college. We're attracting and working so hard to retain students, international and immigrant students. And we just are looking so forward to the day when we too can be celebrating our promotion and tenure, when we can celebrate enjoying that commitment from the college that we have been giving for 5 years, and some of us more. Thank you.
Thank you, and I do want to once again apologize for the March 14th scheduled meeting that did not take place due to a lack of quorum. We know that everyone here's time is valuable. Thank everyone that came on that meeting. We can thank everyone that's here tonight, and just once again want to extend the apologies. Debbie DeSanto.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Deborah DeSanto, President of the NCCFT, and I will be reading a statement on behalf of the NCCFT Executive Committee. Nassau Community College is vital to the health of our local economy, providing affordable access to higher education for a wide range of students, including the children of middle-class families who are just beginning their education, people who are out of work and need retraining in new fields, workers who need to acquire new skills for the demands of the 21st century, and immigrants starting to a new life for themselves and their family. The Nassau Community College faculty has a 50-year track record of creating innovative, nationally recognized programs that motivate and enhance student learning at all levels of achievement, from remedial to honors. One reason we have been able to serve our students so well is that past administrations have seen the faculty as partners in running the college, not merely as employees who have to be managed. Under Dr. Astrab, this working relationship no longer exists. He has imposed a top-down corporate style of management that effectively cuts us out of the decision-making process. Recent decisions by the current administration and Board of Trustees have further demonstrated this point. Month after month, faculty leaders, along with members of the NCCFT, have come before you with concerns. Yet it appears that no one is listening. I do not draw this conclusion because we do not always get our way, but because we are told that we do not have a grasp of reality, that we are spoiled, that we are used to doing things our own way. This simply is not the case. Decisions to remove Professor Emeritus from the email and the discontinuance of all NCC email, along with the failure to finalize the status of the Link lecturers, and the recent 10-month attempt to reach a contract extension are a few examples. The college is losing money due to mismanagement, such as a decline in the student enrollment during the fall semester, when department chairs were told to cut sections. Existing students were hurt as they could not get their required courses, and new students were turned away as there were no sections open to them. Classrooms were available and faculty were ready, but the decision had been made by the administration, even though department chairs informed the administration that this was not the appropriate measure to save money. The department chairs were correct, and money was lost and students were harmed. So the question remains, when will Dr. Astrab and the Board of Trustees recognize that members of the NCCFT value their students and the reputation of this college to make an honest effort to work as partners? I know I have less than 30 seconds, but what I'm addressing here is also the Link lecturers that have been working here for 5 to 7 years, extremely dedicated. We will address this later on with additional speakers, but I implore you to just please listen to what we are saying about this and just to really absorb these 3 minutes of what I said tonight. And we're putting Link right at the top of the list here because they have to be a priority. Thank you very much.
James Hoyt.
I am the Vice President of the Nassau Community College Federation of Teachers. I think many of the board members know I'm also the transfer counselor here at Nassau. I work with the students when they leave Nassau. I have seen the success of the LINK program. I work with these students who come here speaking not a word of English, and in 3 to 4 years we move them to Hofstra, to Cornell, to Stony Brook. I could not possibly go to their country and in 3 years be competent in terms of taking academic classes in their language. And that's what they do here, and it's all because of the hard work of our LINK lecturers. I'd like to remind the board that it was your predecessors that directed your attorney to argue before PERB that they belonged in our bargaining unit. Do the right thing. The salaries are already in the budget. We're basically at issues that other people will address that I really think we could solve almost tonight.
Mary Ann Corvellis. Elizabeth Wheeler.
Hello, I'm Elizabeth Wheeler. I teach in the English department. And I'm here to offer a proposal on strategies for increasing productivity. Recently, the administration met the full-time faculty's offer of $4 million in concessions with a counteroffer. No, the faculty must become more productive. Taking that suggestion to heart, I am, right here, right now, being more productive by offering the following financial analysis. First, if there are 3 full-time lawyers on staff, I'm guessing costing $450,000 per annum, and if just this year they've been so very productive that they deserve raises, then what the chuck? Why not fire 2, raise the one salary even more, because what else but productivity matters, a savings of $250,000. Also, board members, if you have approved 2 of those 3 lawyers working part-time from home, when administrators need to put in 6 3/4 hours per day, if I regularly spend 12 or more hours per day teaching, preparing classes, grading, how much is saved by administrators spreading the lie that I'm only working when I'm in a classroom? Don't you love word problems? Next, if there's also a need to hire outside legal aid, makes one question the productivity of the in-house staff, I'm afraid. Why not, instead, save $160,000 by hiring one inexpensive but very productive recent law school graduate? Already $500,000 in savings. Next problem. According to the Higher Education Board Member Handbook, quote, while the corporate standard for success, profitability, may not be appropriate in higher education, sound financial management is. And I quote, some institutions set minimum fundraising requirements for trustees. For example, a member would be required to raise $5,000 annually through personal contributions or soliciting them from others. As a trustee of a SUNY school, I suppose it isn't expected of you to
30 seconds.
Stay. But aren't all of you, except Gail Gull, political appointees? How productive have you been in securing state and local funds already promised Nassau? Finally, isn't it your job, Donald, to support and defend this college? How productive have you been? What's your value added? To conclude, as I'm sure is evident from the numbers I've crunched.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Jason Gorman.
Good answer. Well, I have 10 billion things to say. First of all, Trustee Adams, I'm very glad to see that you're doing well. I'd like to thank you all for coming. We were all very disappointed last week. It seems to me, if I've got this right, there's still 2 of you missing. It's upsetting that I don't actually know when the last time some of our trustees were actually here. It is a tremendous concern. I basically came here tonight to tell you a little bit about faculty. I'm in a unique position to know about them as the chair of the sabbatical committee. I read lots of their sabbaticals. As a member of the promotion and tenure committee last year, I read scores of promotion applications, and I can tell you that we work very, very hard. We have internationally known scholars. We have won international contests, been given awards. There's a rule of thumb, 10,000 hours necessary to become a master in your field. Over 20 years, that's 500 hours a week. I can tell you, and my wife can attest to this, I spend no less than 10 hours a night based on a 5-day work week, and I only work here 4 days, keeping up in my field and doing tons of work for Nassau Community College. When I first arrived here about 15 years ago, I was almost immediately asked by the administration to create a desktop publishing certificate. I was overwhelmed with work when I first got here, just trying to get done, know the system and everything. And after several years, the administration did not come up with that program. They depended on me for that. And I can tell you, after being a part of the computer graphics area, which started out when I came here with 9 students and has grown to over 500 students in just a few years and continued on that path, that these types of projects, creating courses, creating programs, all of the programs that the teachers teach here and the students take, created by your faculty, take hundreds of hours. When I do a community service learning project, it takes hundreds of hours. When I apply for a grant, as I have done many, it takes hundreds of hours. We work very hard. And I don't know that I can speak to everybody, but I have not asked you for a raise. I understand the situation we're in. And even whatever we get as a part of our contract doesn't come close to the 3% or so of inflation. So what are we asking for? I'm very appreciative of my job. I love my job. I love coming here. I love working hard. I was offered 2 jobs when I got this job. I turned them down because Nassau was rigorous. That's why.
30 seconds.
All right, well, I guess I'll have to come short and share with you later. I would like to say one thing about what happened tonight. I don't understand, but maybe you could explain to us, why was Trustee Cornacchio cut short? Maybe you could explain the procedure that he started to speak before the vote was called, and then he was just cut short. I don't want to feel bad about the trustees, but why wasn't he allowed to speak?
We had a motion to table pursuant to the all NCC's restoration.
And why could he speak to that?
Time.
All right, in closing, I thought I was going to get it. Okay, I got it. All right, in closing, I'm going to provide you with some information on enrollment. Do you mind?
My feeling was, you asked a question and it should be answered.
Thank you very much.
I don't have the answer. I give it to the chair. But apparently,
I don't have the answer.
If they made a motion because something no longer existed, it's tabled and until it's at another time. That's as far as I can tell you.
It doesn't exactly make me feel comfortable, but I guess I'll have to take that amount of time. In closing, I wanted to provide the trustees with information. I'm sorry that this comes as a surprise, but I was preparing at the last minute for a meeting tomorrow. It talks about our enrollment. We have actually dropped in the past 2 years, 8% in full-time, increased 24% in part-time. Please look at these.
Kathy Fagan. Kathy Bagan.
She's not here.
Elizabeth Wood.
Thank you. My name is Elizabeth Wood, and I'm the treasurer for the NCCFT. I'm also an associate professor in the Department of Sociology, Anthropology, and Social Work. I don't usually speak when I attend these meetings because my colleagues' statements are articulate and comprehensive, and I don't need to speak to hear the sound of my own voice. But tonight I need to speak because of the courage of the Link lecturers who came here 2 weeks ago and returned tonight to tell you about the injustice that they have suffered for over 2 years. Over 2 years ago, the college argued that Link lecturers should be placed in the full-time faculty bargaining unit because they resembled full-time faculty. The Public Employment Relations Board agreed, finding they shared a community of interest with the NCCFT, yet since that time, the college has insisted that they be treated as second-class citizens. Our bargaining unit is a strong and diverse unit, representing many kinds of workers. We proudly represent admissions and financial aid counselors, computer programmers, lab assistants, testing coordinators, classroom faculty, librarians, psychological counselors, academic advisors, and many others. While we make some distinctions between classroom faculty and non-classroom faculty, and different categories of faculty of different salary scales and work weeks, we are all united under the protection of the NCCFT contract. And the vast majority of the provisions of that contract apply to every single one of our bargaining unit members. We all share the same benefits package. We are all eligible to apply for sabbaticals. We are all eligible to apply for tenure. We all participate in electing our faculty leaders. We all share in the governance of this college. Link lecturers teach students in classrooms full-time. By any reasonable definition, they are classroom faculty. But no matter what we call them, they are part of our unit and should be given the same rights, responsibilities, and protections that are shared by every other member of the NCCFT. That simple principle has driven our work to negotiate reasonable terms and conditions of employment for these faculty. But if I've learned anything in that process, it's that negotiations are not about reason. At their best, they're about good faith compromises. At their base, they're about power. We've seen over the past 2 years that the administration is not driven by good faith. That leaves us with power. It may have seemed to you that 14 people could not have much power and that they could easily be marginalized.
30 seconds.
Look around the room. You have seen that we are not relenting in any of the issues that we bring before you. We will not relent in our support for these 14 people either. We will not concede to marginalization of these, our colleagues, and I, for one, am shocked that marginalization is what our administration and our Board of Trustees would want for any of the faculty that it entrusts to educate the students whose interests it is charged to protect. Thank you.
Phyllis Curlin.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I am the chair of the college's Sexual Harassment Education Subcommittee of our Affirmative Action Committee. This is Sexual Harassment Awareness Week at Nassau Community College. One of your number, Trustee Bergtas, participated in one of the panel discussions that we had today about sexual harassment. I just wanted to let you know that our subcommittee and our affirmative action committee at the college are a model for how administration and faculty can work together. And I want to thank Dean Anissa Moore and affirmative action officer Craig Wright for their support of all of our programs and for their help. And I'm going to leave for you our sexual harassment literature, our pamphlets, our students, and our sexual harassment Respect Someone sticker. And I hope you'll take them and read them and see some of the wonderful work that we do at Nassau Community College where we all work together. Thank you.
Richard Newman.
Good evening. My name is Richard Newman. I'm a professor in the English department. I want to start by saying that I am addressing these remarks to the trustees and not to President Astrap himself, because they are a response to your continued insistence that he is the right person to lead this college. I also want to say that it gives me no pleasure to feel compelled to make them. They are based on the account in the draft minutes of your February meeting of President Astrap's response to the concerns that have been raised about the vision statement he published in Channels. If those minutes turn out to be inaccurate and or incomplete in ways that render these remarks invalid, I will happily issue a campus-wide apology on the newly restored all NCC email list. In every composition class that I teach, I make a distinction between willful plagiarism and plagiarism that is not willful. Willful plagiarists intend to fool me into giving them a grade for words they did not write. Non-willful plagiarists make ignorant or make honest or blissfully ignorant mistakes, but are not per se trying to claim someone else's words as their own. At least according to the standards I am supposed to teach in English 101, in other words, President Astrap's vision statement was plagiarized. Not because he copied word for word from the work of others, but because he failed adequately to credit that work, leading to the appearance he was trying to claim it as his own. Were NCC a corporation, this would be standard practice. CEOs and other high-level executives, not without justification, do this all the time. But we are not a corporation. We are an institution of higher learning, and part of being such an institution is modeling for our students at every level the academic standards we expect them not just to follow while they are here, but to internalize as part of their personal ethic when they move on to the next stage of their lives. I will not quote your secretary's account of what President Astrap said. You have already read it. Suffice it to say that in his assumption that we would recognize, without being told, that his vision statement had been, quote, formulated in the context, unquote, of the work of the Academic Senate's Planning Committee, and in his assertion of good intentions, since he, quote, did not mean to ignore or be dismissive of, unquote, the Planning Committee's work, President Astrap has joined the ranks of the non-willful plagiarists I have encountered in more than 20 years of teaching here. Almost always, they have tried to avoid responsibility for what they did by claiming they didn't really mean it.
30 seconds.
And very few of whom, except that I had a grade to hold over their heads, have ever said, "You're right, I made a mistake, how can I correct it?" You would be right. You would even be obligated to question my ability to lead a classroom if you found that I had accepted an explanation such as I have just described without imposing some form of consequence on a student who had plagiarized. Why would you presume that we, should accept with confidence the academic leadership of a college president who appears to have embraced such an explanation as legitimate and sufficient?
Frank Casenda.
Good evening.
Good evening.
And my name is Frank Presenda, and I don't know who that fellow is, but I'm the vice president of the NCC. We believe that you have a responsibility and an obligation as a member of the Board of Trustees to educate yourselves, not only about the culture and mission of the college community, but to promises made by this administration. Before the NCCFT decided to negotiate for the Link faculty, Dr. Astrap agreed that the Link faculty would be treated exactly the same as all faculty under our collective bargaining agreement. And we agreed that we would bargain with respect to salaries and departmental governance. Now we are told by the mediator for the Link negotiations that although Dr. Astrap made that commitment, the Board of Trustees will not honor it. As frustrating as that is, it appears there were two areas we might be able to agree. One on wage increases already included in the college budget and fully paid health insurance. However, we were told, as with the other promises made, the promise of the Link lecturers receiving paid health insurance, as all other faculty receive, is also 5 to 7 years. Since John Gross is speaking on behalf of the Board of Trustees, and you have no knowledge of the health insurance issue, and since you have a quorum tonight, we would ask you to caucus for a couple of minutes and return tonight with the commitment that you will direct your negotiator to agree that these 14 members receive the same health insurance benefits as every other member of the bargaining unit, allowing us to accept the mediator's proposal about the salaries already budgeted. This will provide closure on these two immediate issues and allow us to resume productive discussions on the other matters.
Christine Tulane? Tulane?
She's not here. It's okay.
I see that the next three scheduled speakers are students. I'm just going to call out the names. My understanding is that they're not here or that they do not wish to speak, but I'll call out the names just in case. I'll just use the first names. Giancarlos, Wendolyn, and Joaquin. Okay. Sholcomb.
Cohen, Department of Psychology. Good evening.
Good evening.
I didn't come here with any prepared remarks. I think I'd like to talk about walls. I don't know if we're beating our head against a wall or we're talking to a wall. It seems to me that the administration has seen fit to wall us out. First, walling out the professors emeriti, then walling out the all NCC email, all NCC faculty email, and now the foundation has walled us out behind their shroud of secrecy. Well-known American Robert Frost had said, "Something there is that doesn't love a wall." And if you know anything about building walls, literally, you know that something is a force of nature. We are that force of nature. You cannot wall us out. I ask you, especially in terms of now the most recent wall, and that is the one with the foundation. I can tell you that I can certainly speak for myself, possibly others, I am not going to financially support, and unfortunately it's going to hurt scholarships, I'm not going to support financially a foundation that is not transparent in its financial reactions or transactions. I am not going to support a foundation that says you can't know about this. Everything we do is secret. We're going to suffer for this. Frost said, before I build a wall, I wonder what I'm walling in as well as what I'm walling out. I don't know what you're walling in, why you need a shroud of secrecy. I know what you're walling out, and that's something you're afraid of. Otherwise, there's no need for walls. I say to you, like another famous American, Mr. Prime, Dr. Astrad, as members of the foundation, tear down these walls.
Mr. Cohen, would I be able to ask you a question, please?
Pardon?
Could I ask you a question, please?
Certainly.
Please explain to me, what is it about the foundation that is different from the last time that I was here? Is there...
You want me to answer? Yes, please. I'd like to yield to Dr. Sawyer. Dr. Gordon?
Absolutely.
3 minutes. More than 3 minutes.
First of all, I was a member of the foundation as past chair of the Academic Senate for 8 years. As a member of the foundation, we were privy to the financial statements. The foundation, for as long as I can remember, and I've been here a long time, has always had an elected representative from the faculty, as well as the chair of the Academic Senate. What I'm telling you now is what I learned from the chair of our Senate a month ago, because the chair of our Senate, who sits on the foundation, is now no longer allowed to speak about the foundation. Last Tuesday night in an emergency session, no, Monday night, in an emergency session of the foundation voted what I call a secrecy order. They call it a confidentiality pledge, that they are not allowed to speak of the foundation to anyone. anything that happens to the foundation. At last Tuesday's meeting of the Board of the Academic Senate, our Chair Kimberly Reiser reported on that taking place. People then asked her question. She said, I could not answer it. She then deferred to President Astrab. He said he was not allowed to answer it, why this takes place. The only thing we could conclude is that they're trying to hide something. We also have learned, or I had learned, I don't know what the current condition is right now, but as of a month ago, the Bylaws Committee of the Foundation, now I helped write some of the bylaws in the past, which continued the faculty representation on it, but lately the Bylaws Committee of the Foundation, which has hired an attorney. I don't know why they have to pay for a private attorney, but they feel it's necessary for the spend, I don't know whose money. If it's foundation money, it's bad. If it's college money, it's even worse. But they've hired a private attorney to advise them, and the private attorney, to my knowledge, because I was at a foundation meeting 2 months ago, is advising them to remove faculty representation as part of their bylaws. They were able to do that, they write their own bylaws, but it now casts a suspicion and a pall on the foundation from the point of view of the faculty. A good many of the faculty contribute to foundation fundraising. Foundation has had dinners, we've supported it. When I was chair of the Senate, I drummed up a lot of business for them. I pushed for the ads. Our chair of the Senate is no longer allowed to do that because she's not allowed to speak at the foundation to anyone outside of the foundation. So as far as I'm concerned, if this continues this way, I will have nothing to do with it as a faculty member. If the students are going to be hurt, because a good many of the scholarships are supported by faculty. But maybe something else maybe we can come up with another entity that will handle the scholarships. The scholarships are done under the Academic Senate Scholarship and Financial Aid Committee, and they give the names to the foundation who award it. We don't know what kind of cooperation there's going to be because of the secrecy pledge.
Thank you.
Okay.
Michael Murata. Good evening.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would first like to thank you for affording me the opportunity to speak here tonight. My name is Michael Murata, and I'm a student at Nassau Community College. When I first returned from Afghanistan with the United States Marine Corps, I looked for a place to restart. That applause break going to be taken off my time? Sorry, I looked for a place that had an engaging faculty and a high standard of education that would prepare me for any school I would transfer to. I found that at Nassau Community College. This is now my third semester here, and I have not been let down once by the amazing and passionate professors employed at this school. When I was first informed about the cuts made by this school, I was sympathetic to the predicament that our current economic crisis has left us all in. Upon further investigation, I found that the professors had done their fair share of cutting and giving. Sadly, they seem to be the only ones who care about the students and have been met with no such cuts and giving by the administration. I'm not here to pretend to be fully informed of the facts. What I'm here for is to ask everyone in this room to do what works best for the students, to think about the student who works and helps support his family and cannot afford books, the student who cannot sign up for classes because there are not enough professors to teach that class, the student who hopes to pull his grades up so he can attend a four-year university. These are the students who walk the very halls of the building we are in right now. These are the students that you are charged with the care of. These are the students that are asked to pay more to have overcrowded classrooms. These are the students that matter. The business of this college is to educate the future leaders of this great country we live in. By cutting professors and giving raises to administrators, you are hurting the very students I'm sure everyone proclaims to help. Professors are the lifeblood of this institution and should be helped and aided in their quest to educate in any way possible. I have no question that needs to be answered at this moment. Instead, I would prefer that you think long and hard about your answers. When you are home tonight, laying in your bed, and you have no one to perform for except for yourselves, this simple question: how does cutting professors and classes while giving raises to administrators help the students I am entrusted to help? We will see what you are made of when you return to this room with your answers. You hold in your hands the education of 20,000 plus students. Please do not let us down. Thank you.
Matthew Lastia. Matthew Lastia. Thomas Jackson.
Good evening, everyone. I would first like to thank the board for giving me this opportunity to allow me to speak in front of you all. My name is Thomas Jackson, and I'm a full-time student here at Nassau Community College. I'm currently in my second semester here, and I've been enjoying my time learning and growing as a person. 14 months ago, the pharmacy I work for closed my facility, as well as 5 others because of rising costs and the desire to get more for less. I can't help but seeing parallels here at Nassau. 1 month after being told that I was going to lose my job, I was struck by a public bus while crossing the street. During my recuperation, I began to think of what to do with myself and my life. I decided to come here to this fine institution to start my journey into my career in pharmacy. My issue tonight is that I'm not feeling that you're allowing the faculty the tools necessary to help me and others obtain what we came here for. For example, I have an English 102 class in which we have to rush the class, not because everyone's eager to learn, but because if you're not there on time, you won't get a seat. On 2 separate occasions, we had students come into class and turn back out because there were no seats. And also on many occasions, my professor gave up his desk and his seat for a student. I've been hearing many things about the faculty, how the faculty have been willing to give up or go without to help the students, and to make sure that the students come first. And they are willing to work with the board to make sure to make this institution better. Well, I am too. I'm not saying that I know the whole situation, but people always say that there's 3 sides to every story. Theirs, yours, and the truth. I'm here to find out the truth. Again, I thank you for this time, and I look forward to working with you in any way I can and to make sure that success does indeed continue here.
I'm sorry, could you tell me what classroom that was?
It was my English 102 class with Professor Barry Fruchter on Mondays and Wednesdays.
Mondays and Wednesdays, what time?
2 to 3:15.
2 to
3:15.
2 to 3:15, and it's in room 102?
No, it is in, I just go there automatically now. It's in S101.
S101?
Yes, and oftentimes we have to go procure desks from other rooms.
Has there ever been enough desks in the room? Or
maybe the first week of classes.
And then do you think that someone's like moving them? Or?
I'm guessing other classes are procuring desks as well.
All right.
My name is Lucy Landisberg. I teach mathematics in the basic education program. Several months ago, I addressed this board and inquired about the 4th income stream to produce revenue for the college. President Astrop and his administration constantly remind us of the 3 sources of revenue: the state, the county, and student tuition. I see the 4th revenue stream originating from the NCC Foundation, a not-for-profit corporation created to support the mission of the college and enhance its academic programs. I am delighted that this office is so successful that it can fund the salary of approximately $100,000 plus for the director of the development office. But in another communication, I learned that the activities of the NCC Foundation are confidential. Why not applaud the success? Why the cloak of secrecy? Why? Just last week, I attended a reception at Adelphi University where nearly 400 donors, scholarship recipients, and other benefactors were celebrated. It was an elaborate affair, quite a celebration, and quite a contrast to the confidential NCC Foundation efforts. You may wonder why I draw a parallel to Adelphi University, when it is a private university and we are a community college, part of the SUNY system. Beyond the fact that we share the same zip code and commitment to educate students, I would remind the board that not long ago, Adelphi was near bankruptcy, suffering under a president and board of trustees whose policies nearly brought down the university. And through a faculty effort, President and the Board of Trustees were replaced by the New York State Regents. And today, under a new board and president, the college is enjoying a renaissance. In the few months since I last spoke before this board, I have seen a decline in the relationship between the NCC faculty and the administration. There's a growing disregard for free and open communication, transparency, and our shared governance system. Your actions are reminiscent of the oppressive style and treatment of faculty that the Adelphi University faculty endured in the 90s, until the state regents removed the Board of Trustees and the president. Is this the road that the current administration wants to follow? It is my hope that the NCC Foundation has great plans to reach out to our alums, reach out to foundations for grants, reach out to anyone who recognizes the value of this great college and how important it is to the community that it serves. I cannot understand why this has to be done in secrecy. No one cares more about this college and its students than the NCC faculty. We are ready and willing to help, but instead we learn that the foundation is considering changes to its bylaws that would eliminate faculty representation on its board.
Thank you.
Together, we can work together. The key word here is together.
Luke Martinez.
I want to thank you all for your time. I'm glad to hear that some of the things that I'm about to address, other people that have spoken tonight have also addressed. But I'm going to kind of stick to my script so I don't get lost. I'm here to share with you, our board, my perceptions, my ideas, and my concerns about what's been going on at our college over the past year. In the past year, I've watched the climate of our college go from bad to worse. In the past year, I've seen and heard an administration that is perplexed as to why the faculty is so not confident in this president's ability to lead this college in a positive direction. To make matters worse, the Board of Trustees seems equally confused or maybe uninterested in the faculty's concerns. I'd like to try to bring some clarity to this lack of confidence by sharing some of what I've seen in the past year. Given the 3-minute time limit, the list will be slightly abridged. In the past year, I've seen an unprecedented 2 votes of no confidence. The board did nothing, and then things got worse. In the past year, I've heard a frustrated faculty loudly and passionately protesting to the board, or anyone who would listen, loudly and passionately protesting the disregard of the college's shared governance system, the system to which NCC owes its status as an elite institution. The issue of right placer comes to mind. There are Senate committees full of experts and professionals that would traditionally make the decision of whether or not to implement such a system. Instead, they were told to simply study the effectiveness of right placer. As we know, it was shown to be very unreliable, but its implementation was a foregone conclusion. The board said nothing, and things got worse. The all-NCC email moratorium came around. We all know that the foundation of shared governance is an open and efficient communication, and as such, this can be seen as nothing but an attack on shared governance. By your own admission, the moratorium did not stop communication. It only made it more cumbersome and less efficient. Furthermore, the college already has a policy, Senate approved, mind you, on computer usage. This moratorium completely disregarded and usurped this policy. The board did nothing, and then things got worse. I'll fast forward to recent history and the events involving the NCC Foundation. Recently, the foundation voted that its members should sign an agreement of confidentiality and proposed to remove faculty and alumni representation from the foundation. I was shocked to discover that there are members of the Board of Trustees and president among the people who represent the board of the foundation. This action will in no way help the foundation raise money for the college and only serves as evidence for the disdain this administration has for transparency and communication. Personally, as Professor Cohen said, I would never donate to a charity or a not-for-profit organization whose policy is secrecy. The most recent case, the board said nothing and things got worse. None of the developments I've spoken about have anything to do with the college's dire economic situation. This was quite intentional, and I hope that this tired scapegoat for faculty unease can finally be laid to rest. The college's concerns are many. All of them are complex and deserve to be addressed and debated with passion and scrutiny. What is not complex are the reason for this faculty and its outrage and its non-confidence in this president, the administration, and this board. What is not complex is that if something doesn't dramatically change, things will get worse.
DeSanto.
Good evening. Carmine DeSanto, Chair of Mathematics, Computer Science, Information Technology. Education is not a business, it's a mission, states Pam Whitfield, a National Education Association member who won the State Professor of the Year Award for 2011. She continues to say, education is how we change the world, one person at a time. Education is how we pull children out of poverty. It's how we right the race, the gender, and class imbalances of our society. For the past 2 years, my department has been working on developing a retention plan to help improve at-risk students' academic situation so they can be successful in passing and to improve their chances of graduating with a college degree. This retention process involves administering a student risk assessment survey during the first week. Using this information, we determine which students are at risk, assign an intervention strategy for each at-risk student. We administer follow-up assessment surveys and reevaluate the at-risk student. Our retention plan also integrates the college's mandated early warning system. The early warning system, through the Office of Academic Affairs, issues a warning to students who are endangered of failing their courses. However, I've just been informed by the administration that there will be no early warning system this spring semester since it fell through the cracks. It's difficult to understand how the administration can let such an important student service fall through the cracks. Aren't we here for the students? Aren't we supposed to provide the necessary support to help students who want to succeed that may not know how? What I do know is that a student who doesn't do well and isn't given the support or help isn't likely to pass. A student who has a history of not doing well is more likely to fall through the cracks than one who's generally successful in college. We need your help to make sure our students are provided the necessary retention tools from the administration, such as the early warning system, to help our students succeed and not fall through the cracks.
Peter Longo.
Good evening. I'm Peter Longo. I'm the News and Opinions Editor at the NCC Vignette, and I have a couple points to bring up tonight. One, I feel it's extremely disconcerting that tonight there was one vote against free speech at the meetings, and also that after running an article about the Right Placer program, we were contacted by a lawyer twice and informed that we violated federal law, when in fact there's a court case in 2007 that explicitly states that college newspapers are exempt from the federal FERPA law. And I feel it's extremely disconcerting that we are forced to deal with dogs that call us repeatedly and tell us that we are violating laws when we're not. I also feel it's extremely disturbing that students seem to be lacking in their consideration for you guys. That you guys bicker consistently about contractual agreements, and you're dealing with interpersonal arguments between the faculty and administration, while you can walk in any classroom and sit down and listen to students that are basically functionally illiterate. That as a student that's been here for 4 semesters, I can sit down and be in a classroom and be surrounded by kids that actually require help and they're not getting it. And it's really sad to say that's what the school's come to. When I was told this was the best community college in New York State, it's kind of sad. I also think it's really disturbing that free speech in a place that in the 2004 Middle States Report you claim to be a transparent university, you're not. There's all this just bullshit. It sounds just terrible that you guys can't actually communicate openly. It's really sad to be a student here watching you guys bicker so much about just openly communicating. You're all supposed to be working together for helping students, and you're so focused on arguing with each other about budget problems that the students are really struggling. It's really sad. Thank you.
I hear you. It's my humble opinion that some of the comments were unfair. It's my humble opinion that some of the comments were inaccurate, but I do take them to heart. I do take them all to heart. It seems to me that what we have is just a fundamental disagreement as to how to best run the college and who's best equipped to run the college. And I think that's all it is. And just to address Peter, I won't quote you exactly, but I can see how you can view it as BS. What's most important is you and your fellow students, and you getting a quality education here. And I can assure you that that's what every member on this board, every member in the administration, and I know it's more than obvious that every member in the faculty wants as well. We're trying, but there are just fundamental disagreements that we are all trying to work through and all trying to work towards the common goal of making and keeping Nassau Community College the great institution that it is.
Do we know anything about a college attorney speaking to them and making the kind of suggestive threats that the student is talking about?
This is the first that I've heard of it.
Well, what brought that on, in your opinion?
We ran a letter. One of our old editors found a paper that went through the Right Placer testing that was passed with an 8 out of 8, that if you read it as a human, it's functionally illiterate. The grammar and syntax is all wrong, and this person should never have been admitted into a 4-credit class. They were admitted into a 4-credit class. We found the paper, we ran it, and we were told that we violated FERPA by running someone's private documents, when we didn't violate any law. And then when we asked for a statement, thinking that they might have messed up originally telling us that, we were once again informed that we violated FERPA. So we contacted the Student Press Law Center in Virginia, and they told us we didn't violate any law, gave us the statute that the Supreme Court passed in 2007 that explicitly exempts us from violating any law, and it's just sad. It's sad that we have to deal with that. We're a college newspaper. This is freedom of speech. We can print whatever we want. End of story.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Just one last point. I wanted to address Mr. Gorman's question that this board is governed by Robert's rules, and that under Robert's rules, when a motion is tabled, that it is not debatable, and that the tabling motion takes precedence.
Thank you, Matt, very much. May I say one last thing?
Please.
I just wanted to thank 2 of our trustee members who attended an event. Since I've been at the college, I don't think I've ever had the privilege of seeing them attend an event like such. It was an award ceremony for the students, and it was great to see them, as well as Dr. Eastra. Thank you.
Mr. Prime, may I ask you please what the inaccuracies are that you are citing in the statement just now? By just calling them inaccuracies, you are really, in some ways, pulling your weight, but you are accountable to us. Could you please cite those inaccuracies?
I was just expressing my opinion as to some of the statements that were made regarding contract negotiations, and I'll leave it at that. The next Finance and Capital Committee meeting will take place at a date and time certain in April of 2012, with a specific date and time to be announced in accordance with the notice requirements of the rules of the Board of Trustees specified in Article 4, Section 4 of the rules. The next scheduled board meeting will take place at a date and time certain in April 2012, with a specific date and time to be announced in accordance with the notice and requirements of the rules of the Board of Trustees specified in Article 4, Section 4 of the rules. This time I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting. So Second. Second. All in favor? Aye. Any against? Any abstentions? So